Welcome to the Burn City Suns Talk post-game show after the Phoenix Suns just defeated the Golden State Warriors 108 to 104 in their season opener tonight behind a huge performance by Devin Booker, who had 32 points and three consecutive assists in the final minute of the game to seal the deal for the Suns. In what was kind of a roller coaster of a game, the Suns led big at halftime, and then the Warriors came storming back and had a really big third quarter. But the Suns went on an early 11-0 run in the fourth quarter to make it to really take control of the game and then just get their foot back into it. And then the rest of the way, they just held on to that lead and didn't let the Warriors back into it. So it was a pretty eventful season opener right after the Diamondbacks clinched the World Series during their game. So it was a pretty eventful night overall for Arizona sports fans.
Oh, for sure. No, it definitely wasn't a crazy, eventful night. I'm not even a big baseball fan, but I've gotten into the playoffs with all the excitement going on around the city with the Diamondbacks. So I'm definitely happy to see that. But of course, I'm here for the basketball, and I love what I saw from the Suns tonight. And you mentioned how Golden State went on that run in the third quarter. That's what Golden State does, right? If there's three things you can depend on in life, it's death, taxes, and Golden State going on the run in the third quarter. Like they do it every time, and you almost could call it, especially after Charles Barkley said they were cooked at halftime. I was like, oh, they're about to go on a run here in the third quarter, just because of the way that would go after somebody said something like that. But you had to love what Phoenix did with standing that run and being able to win this game.
Yeah, for sure. And let me pull up the full stats for Devin Booker here tonight. So, I mean, you just see he was doing it all. I thought for him, I was like, Devin, are you sure that you could be a playmaker? I mean, even in the fourth quarter, he was turning the ball over so much, and then he just like shut up everyone in that last minute of the game because he was letting the offense come to him and then just driving and dishing. I mean, Okogie was another huge performer tonight. He didn't have a single 3-pointer until that last one, but he was doing it all for the Suns, driving to the hole most of the game, which you didn't really see last year from him. So I think he really showed why he deserved that fifth starter spot. Here, his stats tonight. So you see there's 17 points on a very efficient 7 of 9 shooting, 5 rebounds as well in a lot of minutes too, 32 minutes while guarding Steph Curry most of the game. So I think that was a really big performance they needed out of Okogie. But I mean, there were some negatives too. But I mean, those two guys to me were the top performers in this game.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there that Devin Booker and Josh Okogie were the top two performers. And you mentioned those five rebounds from Okogie. Four of those rebounds were on the offensive end. Those second possessions are so big in a game that's only 4 points, in the difference in the final score. So when you think about somebody getting those offensive rebounds, and if no matter if it's him scoring on the offensive rebound, putting it right back up, or getting it out to Kevin Durant or Devin Booker for a second shot, it's so huge in games like this against good teams. And you mentioned being in there, scoring 17 points along with trying to guard Steph Curry all over the court, where he's constantly getting pick set on him. He's have to run around all around the court because Steph Curry never stops moving. You have to give Josh Okogie a lot of credit for what he was able to do tonight. And that three was huge because if he misses that three, there's no telling what happens after that. Because it seemed like Golden State was kind of grabbing momentum. He had just had a turnover right before that as well, where he tried to drive in and pass it off to Nurkić, and Chris Paul took the pass. So he made up for that in a major way with that big 3-pointer.
Yeah, for sure. And that was his first 3-pointer attempted of the whole game, and it couldn't have come at a better time. Um, But like I said, there were some negatives tonight. I mean, we could highlight some more positive games from Yuta Watanabe, Jordan Goodwin, Jusuf Nurkić probably had the third best game tonight. I mean, he had a double double in the first half, so I thought he could get a 20-20 game, but he didn't come out as dominant there in the second half. And then Drew Eubanks struggled in the first half, but he had a really good second half for the Suns. So those are some of the other good performers tonight. But yeah, going to the negatives, I mean, Eric Gordon. I know there's a more obvious one, but Eric Gordon shooting the ball 16 times. Um, I don't know if that's a recipe for success. I don't know if it was only because Bradley Beal did not play tonight. But do the Suns want Eric Gordon to shoot it 16 times? Probably not, even though that's his MO. But um, it's just tough to tell with Eric when he's hot and he's shooting it 16 times, go right ahead. But when he's so cold like tonight, that really only hurts them. But he did have a big shot in the final minute, so it's tough to judge there. He's a shooter. He's not gonna lose confidence in his shot being in the league for so long. So there's only better things to come from Eric. But Grayson Allen, he was definitely the coldest player tonight. I mean, putting up 0 points after the kind of preseason that he had and getting the starting nod tonight with Bradley Beal out is not good at all. Um, I mean, he did have 4 boards and 2 assists, but he really, really struggled out there. I mean, we talked about his turnovers coming in being his biggest question mark. He only had 1 turnover tonight, but when you have 0 points and you're starting in this big of a game, um, that's not good at all.
No, it's definitely not good. You're going to have bad shooting nights. That's going to happen. Both Gordon and Grayson Allen had bad shooting nights. But the difference is with Gordon, like you mentioned, because he's been coming off the bench for so long, he knows that's his job. Like when he comes in, it's my job to score the basketball. And he was able to keep that confidence and hit a really big three when needed, right? Right after Kogi's big three, he hit a big three that really kept the lead going for the Suns. If without either one of those 3 pointers, I don't know what happens there because Steph Curry was trying to, single-handedly bring the Warriors to victory in that final minute as well as he kept the game close. So you need those big 3-pointers from Gordon and from Okogie. As you show Steph Curry stats here, 27 points, didn't have the best shooting night and was in foul trouble for most of the night, but he's such a great player that he still had a productive night and almost got the Warriors to victory. But again, those clutch threes from Okogie and Eric Gordon, because of Devin Booker's great passing, was able to get the Suns to victory.
Yeah, and just going to like the game plan, the Suns did not play Chimezi Metu. Like me and you both had him in our
Mm-hmm.
rotations, and then they played Nasir Little for a little spurt there in the third quarter, and he came in and was big. I mean, he played good defense. I think he had a steal.
Yeah,
Don't
hit a
quote,
three-pointer.
and then he hit that 3 pointer. So
Mhm.
he was playing good defense when he was in, and he knocked down that three. So that was a good little spurt there by Nasir. But it's going to be tough for Vogel to kind of find minutes for these guys especially when Bradley Beal gets back in the lineup. I mean, Grayson really just made it tough for them tonight because of how bad he was playing. And he only got 21 minutes. You expect him, especially if he's starting to get around 30. But I mean, guys like Jordan Goodwin really stepped up tonight. I mean, he only played 14 minutes, but I think his rebounding is huge. Like I've said to you before, he's basically just Josh Okogie at the point guard position, and he's a very dominant rebounder for a point guard. And I think you saw that tonight, the importance of that, especially when the Suns go to their bench and they don't have the kind of rebounding that they need. Only really Eubanks off the bench is a capable rebounder, so they need guys like Jordan Goodwin to step up, and that's always been the strong suit of Jordan Goodwin's game. I think he averaged like double figures in rebounds, and he's only like 6'3" when he was in college. So
Yeah.
that's a that's a very strong suit of Jordan Goodwin's game that the Suns need, and as well as his defensive ability as well. But I mean, you saw the importance of rebounding tonight.
Oh, for sure. Rebounding was a huge part of this game. That's why Jusuf Nurkić was such a big part of the game as well. 14 points, 14 rebounds. And when you're going against a team like Golden State that's going to play small for the most part, you need your bigs to be big. And Jusuf Nurkić did that tonight. He was so big in the paint. And there was a few times where it seemed like Golden State thought they had a rebound. They just couldn't get around Nurkic's size as he was patting the ball to others or patting the ball to himself to get the rebound. And when they play against smaller teams, Nurkic has to play like this and take advantage of those situations. And also, he had a very clutch layup there at the end off another Devin Booker assist to really close out the victory. And that layup isn't easy from a big man having to cover that much ground and go through the lane like that to make that layup. I think some people might sleep on how hard that layup is, especially at that point where the game is on the line. A lot of people have blown that layup in that situation.
Yeah, and then another guy we haven't even really talked about is Kevin Durant. I think I saw a tweet like when Kevin Durant is shooting 7 of 22 and you still beat a good team like the Warriors and you don't even have Bradley Beal, I think that says a lot about this Suns team. I mean, it really seemed like only Devin Booker, Josh Okogie, and Jusuf Nurkić. I mean, in terms of minutes, they got the most minutes out of the guys that got the most minutes. They were the three that really shouldered the Suns to victory tonight. And I mean, you look at KD's stats again. I mean, he had 10 rebounds, but he played 37 minutes and he missed 15 shots. So that's not a good sign. And I don't know if it's a bad night for KD or if he's just starting to fit in with this rotation, figuring out what he can do on the floor. But I think it's a good sign that the Suns won and Kevin Durant still had a game like this.
Yeah, I totally agree. That's a good sign for the Suns. I think it was just a bad night for KD. Like I said, it was a bad night for also, Grayson and for Eric Gordon. There's going to be nights where they all put it together. It's going to be scary. It's like, wow, this team is unstoppable. But this shows you what can happen when this team doesn't have it all together. You also have to point to their defense. They did a great job of shutting down players like Steph Curry, if not completely shutting them down, at least slowing them down. Chris Paul had a rough night. Klay Thompson had a rough night. So when you look at players like you bring up these stats here, 14 points of 4-15 shooting for Chris Paul, that's very uncharacteristic for him. He's normally very, very efficient when it comes to shooting the basketball. And he did have some shots that just went in and out for Chris Paul. So a little bit of that was bad luck. Klay Thompson, 15 points as well.
6 of 18, 6 of 18, not 6 of 8.
6 of 18 from Klay Thompson. So again, these are two shooters who are known for being efficient throughout their career, who had very inefficient nights. So you have to give the Suns credit for their defense, and Frank Vogel, you have to give him credit because he's the one putting in those defensive game plans.
Yeah, and I think the most telling sign of the Suns so far in this game, in the preseason, and what everyone has talked about on the team is when their defense is flowing, that's when their offense gets going. And I think that's what you saw in the third quarter there. Their defense was really struggling, so their offense was struggling in turn. I mean, when they came out of the gates really bad, even though they had Devin Booker, Kevin Durant on the floor. And then when you go to the fourth quarter, and then you don't even have Devin Booker on the floor, and they're able to put together 11-0 run that started with their defense. I think that was huge. I think the biggest play in that was Jordan. I think it was Jordan Goodwin getting a steal and then finding Yuta Watanabe in transition for an easy layup. So I think those plays really are a telltale sign of who the Suns want to be this year in terms of creating offense from their defense.
Yeah, for sure. And I was a little worried about the non-Devin Booker minutes at first because in that second quarter of what happened there at the beginning before they went on the run to close the half. And then in the fourth quarter, like you mentioned, going on that run right after Steph Curry got that, I believe, I want to say his fifth foul, he had to go out the game, and they went on that run right after that. So you have to really look at their depth and say, okay, the depth is real with this team. You mentioned earlier, Kevin Durant has a bad game. Devin Booker and Josh Okogie and Jusuf Nurkić are the only ones who really show up in a major way. So I think that this is going to be something that really points in a good direction for the Suns going forward.
Yeah, and I think this is a good comment here. Like, if the Suns, if they were all clicking tonight, I mean, what could you take away from this game? You know, everyone on this team, even like KD, I think talked about it today. It's like they want to build this step by step, just ease into it. They know it'll take time. It's not going to click right away. So you saw that was evident tonight, and it's 1 of 82. So
Yeah.
there's a lot more games to show what they're capable of, and we know with the arsenal of players that they have that they are capable of having some historic numbers offensively and historic nights as well. So I just think today was 1 of 82. So
Oh, for sure. Yeah. No, it's a very long season. It's a marathon. It's going to be little steps along the way to get them to, what they want to be come playoff time. That's the most important part. When it comes to April, are they flowing? Are they really hitting their stride at the right time? But it also matters right now because you want to have that one seed. We saw Denver in the earlier game play very, very well against the Los Angeles Lakers. And we know come playoff time, that's going to be a team that the Suns will have to go through. and they have to try to their best, I believe, to get home court advantage because you don't want to have to play a game 7 in Denver. Now, of course, that's a long way away, but all of this matters going into that.
Yeah, and just like this comment says, it's gonna be really tough for the Suns to just click instantly. I mean, you saw some of it in the preseason, and I think you will see like more nights where they have a better offensive performance when Bradley Beal's on the floor. I think Grayson Allen really held them back. I mean, he just looked like he had no confidence out there right from the opening tip, and
Yeah.
there's a lot to improve on. And Grayson Allen, I think, is going to be better for them off the bench, and he showed why tonight. Like when he's thrust into that role, he was basically, because of the way they were kind of defending everyone, he was basically like the third option out there tonight, and he didn't look very fit for it. And Okogie looked very up for the challenge, so he got that done in that category. But yeah, I mean, Grayson had a really bad night, but there's a lot of positives to take from this game, and then a lot of teaching moments as well.
Yeah, that's what you want. You want a game where you can win and still learn lessons. So this is the perfect kind of game for game one. You get the win, but you also Frank Vogel's going to have a bunch of stuff to point to and say we can do this, this, and this better. And I think they'll be able to improve throughout the season. And we'll see what they have improved on in a short period of time because they have to turn right around on Thursday and play against the Lakers.
Yeah, that'll be a fun game to watch. I mean, we saw them in their preseason finale against the Lakers. See KD versus LeBron. LeBron looked pretty good today, even though they lost. They're another team. I think them, the Warriors, and the Suns are all just figuring out right now because of the new pieces they have. I mean, the Lakers, I think, have more continuity there, but I mean, you saw tonight the Lakers really struggled, especially to start the game against the Nuggets because of a team like the Nuggets. They have a lot of continuity, and I mean, Kevin Durant talked about it in practice on Sunday. Like, you need continuity to be good in this league. So, if the Suns can get to that level that the Nuggets are at by the end of an 82 game season, that'll be huge because it's not going to happen right away. Um, but the Nuggets have it established already. That's something the Suns don't have with 13 new guys.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, that chemistry really, really matters. And like you mentioned, Kevin Durant knows that. He knows that having a full season with the Suns is going to make a big difference this year. And again, it's step one of 82. But I like what I see so far from the Suns, and there's room to improve, which means it could be really scary once the team puts it all together.
Yeah, for sure. Um, I think some other things that we didn't really touch on was you see Yusuf here had 5 fouls. We
Yeah.
saw it in preseason as well that um, Yusuf could get into foul trouble, and then Eubanks Eubanks just comes in and like plays his heart out, and he gets absolutely gassed when he's in the game, even though he played 19 minutes because he goes so hard. He's flying around everywhere, getting blocks,
Yeah,
getting
because at one point he thought he was
fouls.
coming out, but Youssef wasn't ready to come in. So he had to stay out there, and you could tell he was done.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you just see how hard he plays. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't know how. It's like he's definitely the hardest playing player on the team because he knows that he's not going to get very many minutes, so he just leaves it all out there when he's on the floor. So I think that's a really positive sign. I mean, guys like Okogie will do the same as well, but Okogie's out there for a longer stretch, so he's not going to exert as much energy as Eubanks does. And Eubanks kind of, I touched on earlier, he kind of struggled in the first half, but when he got going in the second half there, he was huge. He had that one big block and then big dunk right before
Yeah.
he thought he was getting subbed out. So I think his performance was a huge positive for them off the bench, and he showed why that he can be one of the best backup centers in the entire NBA.
Yeah, I agree with that. I like that he didn't get down on himself after those early three fouls because he got two illegal screens and then fouled Chris Paul on a 3-point jumper. So you definitely could get in your head and be like, oh man, I'm setting screens and they're calling fouls. Nine to foul Chris Paul. And he also had, a couple other instances where he got put on that island against Steph Curry and got cooked a little bit, but didn't let that get to him. So you have to look at that and say, okay, I like that. Somebody who can adjust to what's going on and play in a good way after that.
Yeah, and I mean, just looking at the Suns' defensive scheme, um, I think they really struggled early on defending the pick and roll. That was a big thing, and I think that's what allowed some of the Warriors' runs. And I think, I mean, the pick and roll is not like offensive staple of the Warriors, but now that they have Chris Paul, they were doing a lot of. I mean, screen action is a big part of the game. So, but that was a really a weakness for the Suns tonight, and then they eventually figured it out. I think Eubanks really got that figured out for them in the second half of how to defend the pick and roll. So, I don't know. Was there anything else you saw defensively?
Yeah, I thought they did a good job of adjusting to what the Warriors were doing. Like you mentioned, the screen action is always going to be hard to guard from the Warriors. Myself, I believe they get away with a lot of illegal screens, but because they have the reputation of being a good screening team, they don't get those calls. And even the first three that Steph Curry made was off of one of those screen actions where Nurkic kind of got caught in between, where he didn't want to come all the way up. But you have to come up. Whenever it's Steph, you have to come up and deal with whatever consequences come from you coming up. Like if he gets a nice pass off to somebody for a layup, cool, but you can't allow Steph to shoot. So when it comes to players like that, and Nurkic is out there, I know Nurkic isn't comfortable on the perimeter, but he's going to have times where he has to come up if a good screen is set to make sure those players don't get open threes. So good thing today that Steph Curry wasn't really hot, because I thought when he hit that first three, I was like, oh man, it might be a long night. But he didn't have that rhythm throughout the game. And a big part of that was Okogie staying in his chest and staying close to him.
Yeah, and then Grayson kind of. I thought he would take on more of a role defensively. I think Kim and Booker did good jobs against Andrew Wiggins, and I think Katie guarded Andrew Wiggins most of the game. Andrew Wiggins did not have that good of a game. I think he had the lowest plus minus out of anyone tonight at -22. So I think that was a huge positive that they were able to limit Andrew Wiggins because we know what the Warriors can do if he's hot. So I think the Suns limiting, I mean, they really limited their whole offense because if you look at the shooting numbers, I mean, the Warriors only shot like 35.6% from the floor. So um, when you face a dynamic offensive team like the Warriors and play the kind of defense the Suns did, after they've been preaching that they want to get better defensively, especially under Vogel, I think that's a huge boost when you look at those kind of numbers. Another one is that they out rebounded them 60-49. So I think for Suns fans, that's something, especially Nurkic, his rebounding is something that Suns fans were not accustomed to seeing from Aiden. So I think when they're able to dominate the glass like that, I think that's going to help them in a lot of games moving forward.
Oh, for sure. I said coming into the season that a big thing for Nurkic was being dominant on the boards. 9 rebounds a game wasn't going to be enough. We needed to see 11, 12, 13, today 14 rebounds. These are the type of games he needs to have, especially against smaller teams. He has to take advantage of his size.
Yeah, for sure. So, yeah, and I mean, Looney is a good rebounder too, and I think he
He
held
is.
his own. There was some weird stretches of this game where the Warriors would get like 5 offensive rebounds in a row on like consecutive possessions, and then the Suns would do the same. So I think there were some weird moments in this game when it came to rebounding, but overall the Suns looked really good in that aspect of the game, and it was led by Nurkic, Okogie, Goodwin, and Eubanks. So I think those 4 guys really showed that they can help the Suns on the glass, and it's big when you have guards that are willing to put their bodies on the line in that area. And then Katie also had a good game with 10 boards to give him a double double tonight.
Yeah, no, for sure. I definitely agree with all of that. You need gang rebounding. You can't just depend on one person to do it unless you have someone like a Nikola Jokic who grabs seems like every rebound. But if you don't have anybody like that, you need to have a gang rebounding mentality when it comes to your team. Because if you don't, the other team will take advantage of that and get those rebounds. So I love what I saw from the Suns on the glass tonight.
Yeah, and then you look at their playmaking. I mean, it seemed like Devin Booker was the only one really that was able to get others involved. And I think that's definitely something that they can improve on going forward. And I think they will definitely improve on it when Bradley Beal's back in the lineup. Hopefully that's next game, but I mean, you saw Nurkic tonight didn't really have that big of an effect. But I saw, I mean, multiple times when Okogie cuts backdoor. I mean, you saw it in the preseason as well. That's going to be a huge part of this team because they're not even thinking about Okogie, and then you're
Yeah,
just standing there watching the ball, and then he's right behind you underneath the hoop for easy layup. So that's going to be where a lot of assists come from, especially from the bigs this year. So I think um, as I get more comfortable in the offensive system, you'll see the assist numbers go up, and I think the whole team can really build on what Devin Booker did in the last minute of the game there with those 3 assists when they see how good being unselfish is for the team.
for sure. And again, Devin Booker having 8 assists is what we want to see all year for the Suns because going into the year, the big question was, can he play without a true point guard? And when you see somebody get 3 clutch assists like that, he is your quote unquote point guard. He's your playmaker. And that's what Devin Booker's role is going to be this year. He's still going to drop 32 points, but he can give you between 7 and 10 assists a game. And I think that's something he can do comfortably each and every night because he's so comfortable in that role now. There was no nervousness about it. There was no hesitation. He knew exactly what pass to make. He read the defense and trusted his teammates. That's a big part of it as well. Being able to trust Okogie to hit a three and when he didn't take one all game, trusting Eric Gordon when he had a bad shooting night to hit that three, trusting Nurkic to make the right play once he got the ball in that short roll. Those things matter when it comes to Devin Booker. He did everything right tonight.
Yeah, and I think there were some stretches there, especially to start the second quarter, where um, we saw some of the role players kind of being hesitant to shoot the ball, which was a theme of the Suns last year, especially in the playoffs, and that cannot happen going forward. So they need to figure something out in that area, especially when Devin Booker's not on the floor to get the offense moving. Because I mean, you'll see Booker. I mean, I think he realized it at the end of the game just how much of an effect he can have on everything when he's moving the ball. So when Booker's doing that on a consistent basis and not having 6 turnovers, I think that was tough. But that also goes into the role players needing to be more confident in moving, not only moving the ball, but doing some things for themselves as well, scoring the ball, driving, not just standing there looking for. Like in the second quarter, there was only KD on the floor. They were just standing there looking, where's Kevin at? I'm gonna pass to him. So they need to
Yeah.
have better ball movement moving forward with the role players.
Well, yeah, that's why you want Eric Gordon to continue to be aggressive, even though he had a bad night. He has to be aggressive because he's one of those role players that has to be confident in his shot. Same thing with Grayson Allen. He has to be confident in those shots. Those are the 2 main guys outside of the big three who have to be confident in their shots. Of course, Yuta as well. Shout out to Yuta, who had, I believe he had the best plus minus tonight at +7. So shout out to Yuta and what he did tonight in the game. He was a big part of coming off the bench. He had a big offense to our defense to offensive play, I should say, where he blocked Chris Paul's shot from the back and then was able to come down in transition and hit a three. That was a big part in the game as well. But Utah's only going to play so many minutes, so you need Allen and Eric Gordon to be aggressive and to be confident.
Yeah, I think when Yuta gets in the game, I mean, we saw it in the preseason as well. It just benefits them so much offensively to have that catch and shoot guy, um,
For sure.
he does not hesitate at all when he shoots it, and he's very confident in his shot. So I think that's huge. And like you said, Eric Gordon does the same thing as well, although he takes more questionable shots than Yuta. I mean, even that shot he made in the last minute of the game, it
It
was
was
like
deep.
he was
Yeah,
basically almost standing out of bounds.
yeah, it was deep.
So yeah, he has no limit to how far his range can go, but
Yeah.
sometimes that's not the best shot for the team.
Nah, but you gotta love the confidence though. The fact that he shot that shot after having a bad night in a clutch situation, a lot of people wouldn't shoot that. A lot of people would have passed the ball right back to Booker or saw somebody else out. But the fact that he had the confidence to take that shot and make it, you got to love that from Eric Gordon. And that's one of the reasons I think this team will be so good is because he has that confidence. And hopefully Grayson Allen doesn't let this night get to him and continues to have confidence as well.
Yeah, and I mean the only thing I was really looking forward more to seeing from this game was how Devin Booker and Chris Paul would battle it out against each other. I don't think you really saw that at all this
Yeah, not
game.
too much. Yeah,
Like there's not much head-to-head stuff. Even though it seemed like Booker started the game out on Chris, just Chris had. He did not make a single basket in the first half. So, um, I mean, Booker was doing it against other guys, but you didn't really see those two go at it. So, Chris Paul just got a front row seat to everything he saw last year in Phoenix with Devin Booker. So,
for sure.
um, so I mean, is there anything else that you want to add from this game?
Nah, man, I think we covered it all. Great opening night win for the Suns, but like you said, there's some things that they definitely can improve. And once they look at the tape, they'll be like, okay, we can do this, this, and this better, along with keeping this, and this up. So I love what I saw from the Suns tonight, and can't wait for Thursday. But also can't wait for Wednesday because we have our podcast, Burn City Suns Talk. Well, we'll talk about this game a little bit, but definitely preview the Suns and Lakers game for Thursday, and also talk a little bit around the NBA and make some bold predictions as well. So make sure you tune in. We should be going live at 5:30 Arizona time tomorrow night.
Yeah, I'm very excited for the episode, and I mean, I'm just excited that basketball is here. So make sure you tune into that episode, and me and Damian will give further thoughts on this game, talk about the Lakers game some more, like Damian said. So I'm looking forward to the episode tomorrow and our first ever episode in the regular season. So a lot to be excited about for us.
For sure. So make sure you follow Burn City Sports on all social media platforms because we have you covered when it comes to the Cardinals, the Suns, the Coyotes, the World Series appearance now, Arizona Diamondbacks. We also have you covered when the Phoenix Rising and everything Arizona State. We have a team full of talented writers that have you covered on all bases. So make sure you check out burncitysports.com and follow Burn City Sports on all social media platforms. This is your first time watching us, make sure you subscribe to the Burn City Sports YouTube channel because you get Burn City Suns Talk and all of the videos from all the other sports that we cover as well. Make sure you follow me and Brennan on social media. You can see our handles right there. Go ahead and check us out. And until next time, peace.